So when I was coming up, you played that clip from Do the Right Thing. People would say, go back to Africa. And I would say, well, you know what? I've never really been to Africa. I've only been to Louisiana, which is where I'm from. But people would say that all the time. And I could not believe this weekend when I read that and I said, the President of the United States is basically telling people to go back to Africa. In all of my 50 some odd years on this earth, I never would have thought I'd hear that coming from the president or see it written by the president. Well, he actually said it today. Hear it coming from the president of the United States. It's just unfathomable. And if people don't believe it's racist if he does it, then they don't know what racism is.
Or they just don't want to own the reality.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much disappointment to go around here. Mm-hmm. I mean, to hear somebody come on, I don't want to just put it on Shields. You know, you could replace him with anyone, Shields, Cortez, any of these guys. To them to say, look, well, you know, you got stuff on the other side. You guys don't call it out the same way.
You're always pointing out things. I can't deal with that.
But, you know, look, here's the thing. Sometimes it's true in politics. Sometimes, you know, you got to pick your outrage. However,
there's always another side. You know that. There's on the other. You can always point. Shouldn't say that. Hold on. You can always point to something else. Go on. Sorry.
You always can point to something else. But as you like to say, you know, there's also a point of false equivalency. Yeah. And this is not, but they raise taxes too. Right. Or Obama deported people also. You know what I mean? That's not what this is. There is only one answer in this country. There must only be one answer when there comes to selling hate and prejudice. Yeah. And it has to be no. It has to begin there and it has to end there, then go on to something else. Even Mark Morgan tonight. Look, I've heard good things about him, the guy who's now acting commissioner of CBP. But everything that he does is colored by this president's prejudice. And you cannot say, hey, man, it's not my job to answer for him. The hell it isn't.
That was your first guest, right?
You're working for us. Yes.
You know, so a couple of things here. The first guest, I wanted to, I just wanted to like run in your studio and say when he talked about, well, you know, the Democrats have been saying that this was a manufactured crisis. What they are conflating there is that the Democrats and people with facts were saying that in the context of the president declaring a national emergency and shutting down the government, that it was a manufactured crisis. Everyone has always said that it was a humanitarian crisis at the border. Everything came after that, so they're conflating that. And I try to point that out every time there's an interview. Listen, there's enough blame to go around for Republicans and Democrats, but they cannot conflate the two things. Also, Democrats offered him money for the wall, the president. They offered him money for the wall. They offered him comprehensive immigration money, but DACA was attached, and he said no. And then he came back, and he wanted to shut the government down.
He said yes, and then he said no, and the Republicans got to him. Yeah.
So it's all a big, you know, talking out of both sides of their mouths, and it doesn't make sense. Yes, everyone should get together and do something, but I cannot let the members of the administration come on and not point that out, because that is not, when people were saying, when people say it's a crisis now, they're talking about a humanitarian crisis. Right. They're talking about people who are in those cages, who are in those facilities. The same thing they were talking about before, humanitarian crisis. In the context of declaring a national emergency, taking money from the military and shutting the government down, no, that is a manufactured crisis. And even this now, this humanitarian crisis, that's of the administration's own making, because they can fix that as well. They just don't want to admit it. He wants the money for the wall. They're trying to help him get it. The Democrats are saying, I'm not going to do it. And that's where we are with this. The other thing is, and my producers keep telling me we have to go because we have a big show.
It's your show, D. Lemon. You do what you want to do.
The other thing is that reportedly Ilhan Omar has been a citizen of this country longer than the First Lady of the United States. And most people who look like me, who are from African countries, their ancestors have been here since the 1600s or soon after, longer than the Drumps or the Trumps who came over much later. So if you want to start sending people back, why don't you start with the people who got here before the dark people got here, which would be people like the Drumps /
This president wouldn't even know where to go. He doesn't even know where his father was born.
Yeah, I got to run.
I know you do, but you know what? Look, feed the fire, man. These
true.
are one of those things. This is not a 50-50 proposition. This is 100% wrong.
And I'm going to lay it all out right now. Thank you,
I'll be listening.
And I'm going to start with this, which is not part of what I had planned. But I'm going to start with this poem, all right? And it says, first they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So let me speak for some of the folks who are out there right now. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The President of the United States is a racist. His own words leave absolutely no doubt about that. What he is saying is not racially charged. It is flat out racist. And that's not just what critics say. It's not a point you can argue. There are no both sides here. It's straight up blatant racism. And he is proving it again today, doubling down on his shameful attacks on 4 congresswomen of color: Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, doubling down on his tweets, lobbing the insult that a hallmark of racists, that is a hallmark of racists. Why don't you go back to where you came from? Let's leave aside the fact that only one of them, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, is foreign born. All 4 are United States citizens, and all 4 are duly elected representatives of the American people. But that didn't stop this president from doubling down today.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it.
Did you hear that? Applause. Applause for an utterly racist attack on 4 congresswomen. And there's more.
Does it concern you that many people saw that tweet as racist and that white nationalist groups are finding common cause with you on that point?
It doesn't concern me because many people agree with me.
It doesn't concern him that white nationalists agree with him. And he's happy to attack the patriotism of those 4 congresswomen. Even though this nation was founded on dissent. And what we're all about? Well, the congresswomen are firing back tonight.
He's launching a blatantly racist attack on 4 duly elected members of the United States House of Representatives, all of whom are women of color. This is the agenda of white nationalists. Whether it is happening in chat rooms or it's happening on national TV, and now it's reached the White House garden.
Despite the occupant of the White House attempts to marginalize us and to silence us, please know that we are more than 4 people. And given the size of this squad and this great nation, we cannot, we will not be silenced.
Sadly, this is not the first, nor will it be the last time we hear disgusting, bigoted language from the president. We know this is who he is.
He can't look a child in the face, and he can't look all Americans in the face and justify why this country is throwing them in cages. So instead, he tells us that I should go back to the great borough of the Bronx and make it better. And that's what I'm here to do.
Just in case you didn't hear me say this, this was more than a year and a half ago. Watch this.
The President of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that.
The president is a racist, and he is a demagogue. That is just a fact. Let's lay it out for you. Merriam-Webster defines a demagogue as a leader who makes use of popular prejudices and false claims and promises in order to gain power. Does that sound familiar? And this is from dictionary.com. It's a person, especially an orator or a political leader, who gains power and popularity by arousing the emotions, passions, and prejudices of the people. Again, facts. That is exactly what the President of the United States is doing. And make no mistake, it is working for him. It is how he won the last time, even though in 2015, he told me this.
Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met. I am the least racist person.
Are you bigoted in any way?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Islamophobic?
I'm a person, no, not at all.
come to learn that that's just not true. Donald Trump has a long documented history of racist, Islamophobic, and misogynistic statements and actions. And he has never tried to hide it. Back in 1973, let's lay it out, the Trump family's real estate company was sued by the Justice Department for racial discrimination. They settled without admitting wrongdoing, but were required to take steps to prevent discrimination. And that was just the beginning. That's according to a 1991 book, Trumped, by the former Trump casino executive John O'Donnell. Donald Trump said, quote, "Black guys counting my money, I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day. Those are the kind of people I want counting my money. No one else." In 1989, Trump took out this infamous full-page ad in 4 New York City newspapers demanding the death penalty for what he called, quote, "roving bands of wild criminals." That was in the wake of the rape of a white female jogger in Central Park. 5 Black and Latino teenagers were wrongfully convicted of that crime and later exonerated. But the president refused to back down. Just last month, he said this.
You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt.
Yet and listen to what he said to Trump, told NBC, I should say, in 1989.
A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white in terms of the job market. And I think sometimes a black may think that they don't really have the advantage or this or that, but in actuality, today, currently, it's a great, I've said on occasion, even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage today.
Fast forward to 2011, when Donald Trump embraced the racist birther lie that Barack Obama was not born in this country.
I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like. People have birth certificates. He doesn't have a birth certificate. Now, he may have one, but there's something on that birth, maybe religion, maybe it says he's a Muslim, I don't know. And if he wasn't born in this country, which is a real possibility, I'm not saying it happened, I'm saying it's a real possibility, then he has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics.
Weeks later, President Obama released his long-form birth certificate, which should have been the end of it. But Donald Trump continued to harp on the birther lie.
A lot of people do not think it was an authentic certificate.
How can you say that if this...
You won't report it, Wolf, but many people do not think it was authentic. His mother was not in the hospital. There were many other things that came out. And frankly, if you would report it accurately, I think you'd probably get better ratings than you're getting.
Finally, in September 2016, Trump said this.
President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period.
Yet he reportedly still clings to the birther lie today. And then there's this. On the day Donald Trump announced his campaign.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
He made a Muslim ban the centerpiece of his campaign.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
He repeatedly danced around the question of whether he disavowed David Duke, the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about. I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them. And certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him. And I just don't know anything about him.
He claimed a federal judge hearing a case about Trump University couldn't be fair because of his Mexican heritage.
If you are saying he can't do his job because of his race, is that not the definition of racism?
I don't think so at all.
Let's not forget Donald Trump insulted a Gold Star family whose son, a Muslim soldier, was killed in a car bombing in Iraq as he tried to save other troops.
If you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me.
He bragged about sexually assaulting women.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
He responded to deadly white supremacist violence in Charlottesville by claiming there were, his words, very fine people on both sides.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did.
He called black athletes who dared to protest police brutality and racial injustice sons of bitches.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
He called African countries sending immigrants to this country, quote, shithole countries, and on and on and on and on. It's disgusting. It's totally unworthy of the highest office in the land. And let's not forget, this is not just talk. These are not just words. Racism has deadly consequences. The FBI Director Christopher Wray telling the audience at an anti-Semitism summit at DOJ today, quote, words can quickly turn to violence and hate can quickly become hate crimes. And the proof of that is the murder of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. The man who plowed his car into that crowd, killing her and injuring dozens more, got a second life sentence today. He had also pleaded guilty to 29 federal hate crimes. Remember, very fine people on both sides. His racism now is disgusting. Former Ohio Governor John Kasich tweeting, what Donald Trump said about Democratic women in Congress is deplorable and beneath the dignity of the office. We all, including Republicans, need to speak out against these kinds of comments that do nothing more than divide us and create deep animosity, maybe even hatred. I'm going to talk to the governor in just a few minutes. And then there's George Conway, the husband of counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, who says this tonight about the president in an op-ed in the Washington Post, quote, by virtue of his office, he speaks for the country. What's at stake now is more important than judges or tax cuts or regulations or any policy issue of the day. What's at stake are the nation's ideals, its very soul. He's right. The president is dividing Americans and breeding hate. And there are Republicans tonight who are rebuking him, but it is absolutely disgraceful that everybody in our government hasn't stood up against this. And those who haven't, those who stayed silent, should remember these words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., quote, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.